This is CBC Vancouver News.
Decriminalization was never about using drugs in public, ever.
From decrim to recrim, Ottawa approves BC's request to change its drug pilot program, but some want it scrapped altogether.
And now we know that they're wasting millions of dollars on a pilot that, that keeps changing.
Plus, the 3 men accused of killing a Sikh activist in Surrey appear in court amid international scrutiny. And
they said there was already another food bank in the area.
As more British Columbians rely on food banks, some say their funding isn't keeping up. Hi, I'm Michelle Ghoussoub. Thanks for joining us. A major change to BC's drug decriminalization program has been approved. The federal government has said yes to BC's request to recriminalize illicit drug use in public spaces. Premier David Eby asked for the changes late last month, but as Mira Baines reports, some opposition MLAs say it's time to shut down the entire program.
BC's request to recriminalize the use of illicit drugs in public spaces has not only been approved by Ottawa, but will take effect immediately, says the federal minister for mental health and addictions.
We want to make sure that we look at this from a human-centered lens.
SAC says balancing people's health and safety is key.
There needs to be sufficient health services in place, scaled out to meet people where they're at, and also law enforcement to have the tools that they need to ensure that public safety is a priority.
The green light is a relief for the BC government. It's been facing mounting criticism over open drug use in hospitals, in parks, on transit, and in building entrances, with few ways to stop it. BC's public safety minister says that changes now.
We're working with police and First Nation partners right now to finalize guidance to police to only arrest for simple possession of illicit drugs in exceptional circumstances. Today I will send a letter to police to inform them that these changes are now in effect.
People can still use illicit drugs in their homes and where they can legally shelter. Measuring the success of the pilot project, now over a year old, has been difficult.
Are we meeting that primary objective, which is around removing barriers to people seeking health?
This opposition MLA, a former RCMP officer, says the government's plan has failed and is calling for an end to decriminalization.
They've had every opportunity to scale up services, and now we know that they're wasting millions of dollars on a pilot that, that keeps changing, clearly is not going to have any mechanisms to guide people to help.
Advocates for people living with addiction and mental health issues say the province needs to provide more public consumption sites.
Where are people going to use substances that don't have a place? And so I would hope that moving forward that overdose prevention services that provide inhalation and other harm reduction services would exist throughout all municipalities.
A third party has been tasked with evaluating the decriminalization project, and with the provincial election looming, the BC NDP's move to continue the pilot, albeit with big changes, could be evaluated by voters at the polls. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
That change comes as new data from the BC Coroner shows death rates among women from toxic drugs are rising. The service says there were 23 deaths per 100,000 women so far this year. That's compared with 20.6 deaths per 100,000 women for all of 2023. The report shows at least 572 people were killed in the first 3 months of this year, and that unregulated toxic drugs killed at least 192 people in March. That's a drop of around 11% compared to the previous March.
We need to continue to reduce, though, the fear that people have that if they are using drugs and they get into trouble, we want them to know they can reach out. We want them to know they don't have to be afraid of calling 911. They don't have to be afraid of reaching out if they're in their home and they're by themselves.
The coroner's report shows the majority of poison drug deaths are people who are alone and indoors. 3 men accused of killing Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar last June appeared in a Surrey court today. The 3, all Indian nationals, were arrested in Edmonton last week. Each is charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. As Georgie Smythe tells us, the case is putting renewed focus on allegations that the Indian government has been actively meddling within Canada.
There was just an extraordinary level of interest in this second court appearance today. More than 100 members of the Sikh community came out to witness the hearing of the 3 men accused of killing their temple leader, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. There was a long queue to get into the courthouse and into the courtroom as well, and certainly a bit of jostling to get to the limited seats available in there and in the overflow room. I spoke to one man in the line who was a longtime friend of Mr. Nijjar, who told me he took the day off work to be here to witness this court process. And that's because today is really the first time we've had a chance, and the community has had a chance to get a real look at the 3 men accused. Karanpreet Singh, Kamalpreet Singh and Karan Bra were arrested in Edmonton on Friday. They appeared separately via video link in the Surrey courthouse today, wearing red jail-issued uniforms, and weren't required to say much other than to confirm they understood the directions of the court. A Punjabi translator was brought in to communicate with Kamalpreet Singh, and the issue of translation services was brought up by the men's counsel for future appearances. We expect these matters to continue in court in the next 2 weeks. Now, it's of course hard to talk about these cases without talking about foreign meddling, and the community made sure to highlight those links today, actually bringing into the courthouse a sign with the 3 accused men's faces right next to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I asked Maninder Singh, the spokesperson for the BC Gurdwaras Council, what it was like to look into those men's faces via video link in the courtroom today.
Our issue is still India. When I look at them, I don't see anything except for a couple of people that were hired to carry something out on behalf of India. So when we see them, we really just see that Indian flag, that kind of that genocide that's been committed against our people, this transnational repression, this violence that's been brought to Canada now.
Now, police were asked about the alleged links between the 3 arrested men and the Indian government when they announced charges on Friday. They were quite guarded in their response, but we do expect to learn more about those allegations as this court process continues. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, Surrey.
Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson is in hot water after the city's municipal advisor released his report. Former Abbotsford Mayor Henry Braun's analysis comes after 4 months of work with the Mayor and Council. In it, he claims Hamer-Jackson avoids taking responsibility for his own actions or inaction while expressing his opinions on a completely different topic. Braun was appointed in February to help mend a rift between the Mayor and Council after a confidential report was leaked last year. It contained allegations Hamer-Jackson created a toxic workplace.
I've laid out the good, the bad, and the ugly, and Council, the report is in its hands. I didn't get any joy out of providing this report, but what he was, all of what he has said, I've heard multiple times.
Kamloops Council has since voted 8-1 to ask the Mayor to resign, something Hamer-Jackson says he will not do. As the cost of some food remains high and food insecurity deepens, more people than ever are in need. And as Belle Puri reports, agencies trying to help them are increasingly frustrated over funding.
It's literally as the name says, a food bank on wheels.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello.
Volunteers deliver groceries to those in need who can't get to a food bank.
Yeah, you guys always come in with a load of goodies. I know.
Brittany Lawrence is a single mom of 2.
With my seizures, it was really hard. There was times where I couldn't even walk at all.
The service is unique in BC.
9, 10, okay.
Its resources, though, are sparse.
So these are the carton donuts.
In a rented basement suite, food is collected, hampers are packed, over 100 families are helped every week.
In 2018, we registered this charity and made it exclusively to help single-parent families with disabilities. And now what we're finding is there's seniors that need this program just as much. There's disabled individuals that also need this.
The food bank operates solely on community donations. It gets no dedicated government funding. For that, the mobile service needs to be a member of Food Banks BC.
We got denied once, and then we tried another time, and we also got denied that time, pretty much just because of the fact that they said there was already another food bank in the area.
Food Banks BC is an umbrella organization that distributes money to food banks on behalf of the provincial government. It's a funding model criticized by at least one expert.
It's our governments that actually are publicly accountable under international law for addressing these problems. If you farm it out to charity, it's an ad hoc approach, and that's what you've now got in BC.
Change may be in the works. Earlier this year, Food Banks BC launched a comprehensive review of its current membership model. That process should be done by the end of the year. In the meantime, it says the Food Bank on Wheels is welcome to call back and talk about membership. The volunteers are encouraged.
You just got to have more conversations with other food banks, or talk to smaller startups, or understand that there is maybe a larger need.
Food Bank on Wheels has a waiting list of clients, a clear sign, it says, of the pressure to fill gaps in aid.
Oh, I knew that was going.
Belle Puri, CBC News, Pitt Meadows.
Pay parking will soon be in effect at Spanish Banks. The Vancouver Park Board has voted 4-1 in favor of the fees at one of the city's busiest beaches.
Total net revenues to the park board is going to be about $70,000 is for a year is what's estimated. It's a tiny fraction of what it costs us to operate the area, but it's on the basis of fairness. I mean, if I was living out in East Van, I'd say, well, there's people parking for free out there, and then I have to go and pay when I go to QE Park. That doesn't seem fair at all.
Starting in July, it will cost you $1 an hour to park in the Oceanside lots and on street parking spots along Northwest Marine Drive. The city says the fees are meant to ease traffic and parking concerns around Spanish Banks. Premier David Eby was in a sporting mood, raising the Canucks flag at the BC Legislature as the team heads into round 2 of the playoffs.
Go Canucks, go! Go Canucks, go! Go Canucks, go! Go Canucks, go!
He was also joined by mascot Finn and former Canucks goaltender Kirk McLean. The Canucks are set to face off against the Edmonton Oilers starting Wednesday. So with 2 Canadian teams battling it out for the Cup, we hit the streets to ask fans in Vancouver, Prince George and Kelowna which Canadian team they're cheering for.
How stoked are you about the NHL playoffs?
I'm a Toronto boy. I'm a Toronto fan. I'm the wrong person to talk to.
Canucks, of course.
Vancouver, of course, yeah.
Canucks, of course.
Yeah, obviously the Canucks being living in Vancouver for the past 5 years.
Obviously the Canucks, that's where I grew up, right? So, pretty excited. Yeah.
Who are you cheering for?
Of course, the Canucks.
The Vancouver Canucks, go Vancouver, go, and that's coming from the Fort St. James and everybody up north here.
I'll be cheering for the Vancouver Canucks and specifically Arthur Seelobs.
I've been a Vancouver fan since I was little, and I went to Stanley Cup games when I was younger and always cheered for the Canucks, so I think it's their time. They haven't won one yet and they're due.
Canucks definitely, right? I mean, Canucks are gonna win.
Oiler Nation, I'm from Edmonton, let's go McDavid.
I was born in Vancouver. I have to go with the Canucks.
I gotta go Oilers. I love McDavid, the way he plays.
I've been a Canucks fan since I was as far as I can remember. So, I mean, everybody's saying Oilers, but I mean, look at the stats.
It's Women's Health Week, and we'll be hearing from people who struggle with their periods, as well as from healthcare experts who say they shouldn't have to. That's next. Welcome back. It's Women's Health Week, and today we're taking a look at some of the medical issues women experience. Many people who have periods deal with chronic pain, hormonal imbalance, and difficulty doing daily tasks. Benit Brach spoke with women who struggle with their periods and with healthcare providers who say they shouldn't have to.
Periods, the cramps, cravings, mood swings, and not to mention the bleeding.
Yeah, well, everyone has different experiences. For me, it's really painful. Yeah, me too.
A lot of people just dismiss how a woman's body reacts to the different cycles.
A horror. I don't have a regular period, and I've been to doctors, and it seems that they hear me, but I don't act on it.
Recently, as I've gotten older, it's been something that I've kind of been able to forget about a little bit because I've kind of found ways to deal with it.
And as you just heard, they can be very tough for some people.
What's your period like, if you're comfortable talking about it?
Absolutely. It's incredibly heavy. I experience a lot of clotting and really bad cramping, and it'll typically last anywhere from 7 days up to 11, if not longer.
Morgan's been struggling with this since she was 11.
I'm 26 years old and still experiencing, if not worse, conditions. Menstruation can be incredibly debilitating. For myself, army crawling out of the bathroom, not being able to walk properly, contraction-like cramping.
Oh, it's horrible. 25% of women have periods that are out of control. The hemorrhage that they go through by the hour, wearing double protection and diapers in bed and so on, from the age of 11 or 12 through their lives, and they don't mention it to anyone.
I thought it was normal.
Morgan's been struggling with this since she was 11.
We have our moments, so I just really grinned and bared it for many, many years until I tried to seek help for it.
And I think the grin and bear it kind of societal taboo that was there is no longer.
There are no reasons nowadays why anyone who's having their periods until menopause should be suffering from pain, PMS, bad periods, and the likes.
Now, some doctors are going far enough to say that some people don't need to have their period if they don't want to.
And then the question about, do we really need to have periods? For well-being, I suppose, and for reproductive capacity, yes, but a lot of women choose not to have periods, and they have that option now. If you don't want to have a period, you can take continuous birth control pills, you can have Mirena IUDs, you can have all kinds of interventions. So at least it's a choice.
I think we really need to change the narrative around periods. We need to educate women that it's okay not to have them, that it's a uterus and it's there to sustain a baby in a pregnancy.
But if you're really struggling with your periods,
ask for help, demand help. No is not an acceptable answer.
You're looking at a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. Your full forecast is coming up next.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond. Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
May is Asian Heritage Month, and we're celebrating by sharing the stories of amazing Asian Canadians who are making meaningful contributions in the community. Visit cbc.ca/BC Community to learn more. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox and keep connected with us.
The Canadian Coast Guard stopped a runaway barge from getting stuck on English Bay Beach this afternoon. As Janella Hamilton reports, it's not clear how the 200-foot barge became loose from its mooring.
It was deja vu for many beachgoers. A commercial barge broken loose from its mooring, drifting closer and closer to the shoreline here at Sunset Beach. Not far from where a barge ran aground and got stuck in 2021 during an atmospheric river event. It took officials nearly a year to dismantle and remove that barge from this beach. But thanks to some quick thinking by the Canadian Coast Guard, this time the barge at large was intercepted before washing ashore. It's not clear how the 200-foot barge became loose from its mooring, but the Coast Guard says crews were on scene within minutes, holding the vessel in position until tugboats could remove it. In video captured by CBC News, you can hear the tugboat revving its motor while trying to drag the barge away from the beach. The Vancouver Fraser Port Authority helped out. The whole thing was over in less than an hour, and there have been no reports of pollution concerns or injuries. Officials haven't released which company owns the runaway barge or if any penalties will be issued, but the Port Authority says an investigation is underway. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Doris Maravi is away this week, but weathercaster Victor Paulo joins us now with our BC forecast. Victor?
Well, Vancouver, another beautiful day today. We're experiencing nothing but 14 to 15 degrees and sunshine with just a touch of cloud cover, which is always well accompanied when you're having a high pressure system over your beautiful city. Now, we are expecting a bit of excess wind if you are by the water, with gusts up to about 50 kilometers per hour. Now, there's two things that we have to beat when it comes to tomorrow right here in Vancouver. Number one is going to be the heat, and I got some instructions on how we can beat that and some things to be aware of if you're feeling a little bit dizzy due to that heat. And the second thing we got to beat, well, come on, it's those Oilers. Let's be serious. Let's go Canucks. Now, here's what's happening over the area of BC. You can see a lot of the Northwest will be receiving a lot more rain, a lot of cloud cover over the next couple of days. But if you move a little bit further down south on the coast and you arrive over here in beautiful Vancouver, you'll notice that we are under a high pressure system. That's blocking away all of those clouds, keeping it away like our goaltenders keep away those Oiler shots. And that's what's leaving us with nothing but beautiful sunshine over right here in Vancouver. Now, here's what the temperature trends are going to be over the next couple of days. Now, we're expecting tomorrow to get, well, some of the temperatures that we had today should be around the mid-teens. By the time we reach puck drop, should be around closer to around 15, 16 degrees. And by the time the game's all said and done, as mentioned, the high will be 15. By the time the game's all said and done, we'll be having ourselves temperatures which are closer to around 10 degrees. Now, over here, here's some instructions on how we can beat that heat. Drink lots of water, take cool showers, wear loose clothing, stay in the shade, and do not leave your pets in the car. Now, heat symptoms you want to be aware of if you're outside in the heat, it's dizziness, rapid heartbeat. Another thing to be aware of is headaches, as well as feeling a bit faint. If you feel any of these symptoms, make sure to take a seat, find yourself some shade, and drink some water. Now, when it comes to temperatures, overnight tonight, it's supposed to be around 7 degrees, quite cool, and tomorrow before puck drop, it's going to be 14 degrees. So make sure you are dressed accordingly in that Vancouver Canucks jersey. And by the time the game is all said and done, done? Well, we're expecting temperatures to be closer to around 10 degrees. Taking a look at our 5- and 7-day forecast, well, we see nothing but beautiful sunshine in our future for beautiful Vancouver. Hope you all have yourselves an amazing night before game day tomorrow. And over to you.
Thanks, Victor. And that is your late news for Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, visit our website. That's cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1, and that starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Have a great night, and go Canucks go.